Our topic for today, which is God's proper time if we do not become weary. And we look at part of the theme verse, Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Studio, kindly give us Galatians chapter 6 and verse 9 so that we can lead it together once again. Galatians chapter 6 and verse 9. Together. That is coming from where? Make sure at the end of the year, at least you add this verse to the memory verses that you know. So unajua gani peke yake? Unajua gani? John 3:16. Now you also know Galatians chapter? Which other one do you know? Jesus wept. So now at least you have three. But make sure that this one you also know where it comes from. I know you don't know where Jesus wept is. But good enough you know that between Genesis and Revelation, Jesus wept. So we need to begin all the way from Galatians chapter 6 and verse 9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest. And therefore our topic, we look at that proper time. We look at that divine time when we get the harvest for the good that we have done. And I remember last Sunday, we deliberated on the areas that we are called to do good and to be good at the personal level, at the family level, in our places of work, that is the society, the marketplace where we find ourselves every day, and also the church and the community in general. And today we are going to reflect on that proper time, and our case study is on the book of Esther, chapter 5, verse 9, through to chapter 6 and verse 14. And basically, the entire book of Esther, from chapter 4 all the way through to chapter 8, it is a demonstration of God's manifestation upon those that do good and those who do not tire to do good, that a divine time that is designed by God himself, he is able to reward them. They are able to reap a harvest. Allow me not to go deep into the background of the book of Esther, but of course the main character of that book is Esther herself as the queen. We have King Xerxes as well. We have a gentleman, Mordecai, who is going to be our case study and our model as we continue to do good and as we continue to look forward to the proper time when we are going to reap a harvest. Now, at this particular time, the Jews were going through a lot of trouble. And from exile to exile, and at this particular time, things were not looking up for them. But God raised Esther, and thereafter she becomes a queen. And she is selected to become very close, of course, to the king as the queen. And things start unfolding, and they carry on. And we have this gentleman who is his uncle, Mordecai, who used to live and to stay at the palace gate. That is where he was destined at that particular time. Although Esther was in the palace, the uncle was actually would live at the king's gate. Now, it was always expected that there would be some poor people at the gate of the palace who the king would every now and then have mercy upon them and probably also offer them food or anything else at a particular time. And therefore the king Paris was surrounded with the poor people all around. And now we have a gentleman here among those who surrounded the Paris called Mordecai. And the Bible talks about how he brought into a stop a group of people who had actually planned to assassinate the king. And therefore his good deed was saving the life of the king. Chapter 6 verse 2 says, "It was found recorded there that Mordecai had exposed Bithgana, Teresh, and Teles, two of the king's officials who guarded the doorway, who had conspired to assassinate the king." So that is a good deed that Mordecai had done at that particular time. And of course, his deed was forgotten. Nobody thought about it, and nobody actually took action on that good deed that this gentleman did at that particular time. But we see all along that God came through for him, and the proper time came for him to be rewarded. Remind your neighbor, a proper time is coming. A proper time is coming. Now, I know as human beings, there is what we may perceive, and there is what we may desire as the proper time for everything that we have done. As a father, as a mother, as a parent, there is the proper time, according to you, when God should reward your hard labor in as far as parenting is concerned. At your place of work, the same. You have what you have conceived or what you desire as the proper time. But I want us to be reminded at this particular time that our Lord is to do good. Tell your neighbor that. Your Lord is to do good. And once we do that, we can rest assured that a proper time and a divine time, for that matter, will surely come to pass. Now, there are several reflections that I would want us to have, even as we carry on. Number one, it is us to be reminded that at the proper time, God will cause even the king's trouble concerning you. This is what we read in verse 1 of chapter 6. That night the king could not sleep. He was completely unable to sleep. And what is causing this king not to sleep? It is because evil had been planned to a man who was doing good. But we see that when we do the right thing, when we do good wherever we are at the proper time, God will ensure, even if it is a king, he is not going to sleep concerning your cause. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. It is good for us to know that God can raise not only men and women, not only the ordinary, but even a king will disturb until your good is actually paid, or the good that you have done actually comes to you. When it is your time to receive your harvest, that no one can be able to stop that. Not at the same time that even the king will be disturbed concerning you. It is my prayer that for that place where you are expecting and where you are expectant concerning your good and concerning your hard work, that indeed the king will not sleep concerning your cause. Number two, when the proper time comes, God will cause humanity to stand with you, even to risk their lives on your behalf. Praise the Lord. Esther had to risk her life. Going to the king when you are angry was actually punishable by death. Because when you go to the king when you are angry, it is likely that you want to harm the king. It is likely that probably you want to poison or actually hurt the king for that matter. But we see that God raised Esther, and she took Esther through the process of becoming a queen. God ensured that favor was upon Esther, not only for her being the queen, but also for that proper time upon which indeed Mordecai was to be paid for his gold. And therefore, brothers and sisters, we are reminded that yes, we have done well, we have done good here and there. When the proper time comes, God will continue to raise humanity to stand for you, to stand for us, wherever we are and whatever that we do. May God also help you to be the Esther to somebody. Please tell your neighbor that. Be an Esther to somebody. At your place of work, be the Esther. Wherever you are, be the Esther who can save the situation of the other person, who can risk on behalf of the other person, who will be willing to go to that office, though it is risky, that you do not mind to talk with the CEO, to talk with the head of that company, so that you can save a person that you know too well is actually suffering, yet the person is innocent. May God help us to be as such wherever and in whatever that we do. Number 3, when we do good, a proper time will come, but the point here is do good to all, even your very enemies. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Remind your neighbor to love his or her enemies. Love your enemies. Even those people who do bad to you, who do evil to you, for you as a Christian, you must do good to them. You must continue as such all the way through. Mordecai had done good to the king, who was not his tribesman. He was not of his origin. They were not at any particular time connected in any other way. If anything, the fall of the king probably would have brought a king who would have been good and favorable to the children of Israel. Probably there would have come a time when, after the king is gone, that the Jews would have received back their land and able to go back from exile. And therefore, when at that particular time the king was being assassinated, when Mordecai learned about it, he did not rejoice that the king is going to die tomorrow, that things are going to be bad, even for this community, for that matter. He decided to do good, even to those who were the oppressors, even to those who had put them in exile. He decided to be good, even at that particular time. And therefore, brothers and sisters, the Lord is reminding us, let us do good, not only to those people who do good to us, but even to those who probably hate us, even those who do evil to us, that we continue to do good at any particular time. Number 4, we are reminded that we do good and let God. Please tell your neighbor that. Do good and let God. Ufanya mazuri na umwachie nani? Tenda wema? Yes, tenda wema, nenda zako. Do not fight for your share in your goodness. Do not tell people how you have done well to them and how you expect them to pay back that good that you have done. May God help us in a very big way that we'll be able to do that. In Matthew chapter 6 and verse 3, we read that even when you give alms, when you do good by helping the poor, even your left hand shouldn't know what your right hand has done. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. When you do good, do it and let it to God. Let it be to the hands of God. Many a times as Christians, many a times as people, when we do good, we want it to be known wherever. We want people to know what we have done. There are people who cannot do good unless there are cameras in front of them. All right? The politicians are good in that. That for that which they have done, as they give the bursaries. Ulisema kuna bursary kesho? They want what? The cameras. So that the world can know this is what we have done. The Lord is teaching us that when we do good, we do not have to shout. We do not have to say. We do it and we let it go to God himself. And at the proper time, God is going to bring the camera. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. It is not your work to bring the camera. God will bring the camera. He will bring it and you make sure that the world gets to know. As we read thereafter, we see Mordecai being paraded in the city and people getting to know what he had done. He did it, he did good, and let it unto God. And for sure, God paraded him at the proper time. He did not grow weary in doing good. Number 5, when you do good, you run to God. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Whenever you do good, it is good for you to know you are running to God. As you continue to persuade concerning your marriage, concerning your children and everyone else, even in your places of work, wherever you are, just know that whatever you are doing, you are giving a run to God. Whatever good you do, it does not go to waste. Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 17, we are reminded that kindness is a loan to God. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Kindness is a loan to? When you show mercy, you are running to God. When you are merciful to people, you are running to God. Hebu uliza mwenzako, loan yake imefika ngapi? Kuna watu loan yao balance ni 0. Hakuna chochote. Hebu muuliza this year, how much has he loaned to God? This year alone, how well have you loaned to God? We are told that when we do good, indeed, abundance will come as a reward. And abundance will be our portion, and we'll continue to see that abundance all the way through. Number 6, it is important for us as Christians to make all efforts to have your name in the books of doing good. Very important. We must endeavor at all costs, at all times, to make sure that our names are in the books of doing good. In chapter 6 and verse 2, we read that night the king could not sleep. He ordered the book of Chronicles, the record of his reign, to be brought in and led to him. It was found recorded there that Mordecai had exposed Bithagana and Teresh, 2 of the king's officers who guarded the doorway, who conspired to assassinate King Xerxes. That is what was recorded. That is what was in the book. That is what happened at that particular time. Ask your neighbor, where is your name recorded? Because we may have our names recorded in the books of those people who do evil, in the book of the names who actually bring the downfall of the others. But thank God for Mordecai that he did good, and because of that, his name went to the book of Chronicles. Where are you recording your name? Even as we carry on with the year 2024, where are you recording your name? In the hearts of men, in the hearts of women, where is your name? Your neighbors, where have they recorded your name? In the book of those who do good, or in the book of those who do evil? In your place of work, as an employer, as a boss, as a supervisor, as a manager, those who are under you, where is your name in their hearts? Is it in the book of those who do good to those that are under them? Or is it those who do evil to those who are under them? May God help us in a big way. In your place of work, where is that name? At the family level, where is your name? Where is it? How is it at this particular time? To your wife, where is your name concerning you as a husband? You as a wife, where is your name in as far as your husband is concerned? Sinulizie mwenzako hiyo swali vizuri ndio asikie vizuri. At the family level, amewekwa? Amewekwa wapi? You know, we went for a burial somewhere in Embu. And the wife of the deceased, now the widow, was given time to speak. Lakini akasema, I cannot talk now. Kwanza muweke mchanga. Nijue huyu mtu tafadhali amefanya nini? Ameenda kabisa. So baada ya kuweka mchanga tukakumbuka kuna tribute moja bado. So tukapeana microphone. Huyo mama akasema, njerukwa na okwe kabisa. That is Greek to say, Jero die and die completely. We don't want you in this. You can imagine where that man was in the heart of this woman. We went to another one. We were burying a young man. And when the father stood to speak, he said, I'm very sorry that I have lost my son. Kama Mungu angeniuliza, ni nani maana niko na vijana wengi? Singepeana mgani? Ni nani angepeana? You can imagine. Where is your name in the heart of your family level? What do they think about you? What do they say when you are not there? Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Na ni vizuri saa zingine as a man of the house unakuja unaingia chini ya kitanda. Kama hakuna mtu anajua umefanya nini? Ndio unasikia nini? Story. Na msiseme ni mimi nimewaambia. Ukisikia mambo yako ukisikia mambo yako ni sauri? Ukisikia vitu ambazo zitafanya upate nini? Heart attack. Mwingine alikuwa hapo, hakuna sitima, lakini akasikia mke wake ameambia watoto kishetani kimekuja jioni. Kwa hivyo, as far as the family is concerned, this man is a what? If you are seated to a man, mwambie unasikia vile pasa anasema au hausikii. All right? May God help us in a big way, that indeed we are going to have our names in the book of life, in the hearts of men and women, wherever we are, whatever we do. In Church of Christ, brothers and sisters, where is your name? Uliza mwenzako hiyo swali. In the Church of Christ, where is your name? Is your name in the Mothers Union department? Is your name in the tithe register? Is your name in the choir? Is your name in the Kama, in the youth? Is your name in the praise team? Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Because remember, there will be books, but there also be a book. Books are important. They will be read before the book is actually read. Revelation chapter 20 and verse 12. Studio can give us that. It reminds us that there will be books that are going to be brought before us. And the books are going to be read. And then the book will actually be read. The book of life. And I saw the dead, great small, standing before the throne. And books were opened. Another book was opened. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Books and book. We have to work at this particular time concerning the books. We have to put our names in the books. Allow me to say it will be difficult to put your name in the book if you are not able to put it in the books. We have to encourage ourselves to do good, that our names are going to be in the books. Then the book will be read. Therefore, don't be surprised ukienda biguni ukuta ile register inakuanga pale na Mary ndio inafanya nini? Ndio inafanya nini? Yes. Don't be surprised. Choir, ukienda kule ukuta ile list ya choir members ndio inafanya nini? Ndio inafanya kazi. Ambia mwenzako ipo siku. Yes, na hiyo ipo siku lazima tujihadhari vilevyo. That which we may have despised in the family of Christ may end up being the big thing. And here what Revelation says, and the book was opened, which is a book of life. The dead, and I want you to follow me, the dead were judged according to what had done as recorded in the books. So it is the books that will lead you to the book. It is in the books that you find your name into the... Yes, may God help us. All those that we need to do wherever we are, may God help us to support the work of God It is that tie that you bring that is making your name even to the books. Buliza mwenzako, the last time alitai ilikuwa lini, na umwambie sina ubaya, hakuna mtu akona ubaya na yeye. Muulize tu hapo. Mwambie that is an important book that you need to work on. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Yes. And we are told that if your name is in the books, it can be in the book as well, and the vice versa. To achieve the spiritual well-being, we must work with the physical. 1 John chapter 4 and verse 20, it tells us, if you cannot love your brother who you can see with your own, it is impossible for you to love God. So we have to start with what is physical, even as we think about that which is spiritual for that matter. Number 7, at the proper time, we will receive the right honor and recognition as per the divine status. I want to say this. In chapter 6, verse 3, we read the recognition that Mordecai was actually given. I want you to imagine, suppose he received the reward earlier. When the books were being led to the king, it would have been said he was already recognized. And you hear very well what the king is saying and asking in verse 3. What honor and recognition has Mordecai received for this? The king asked, and the people who are reading the book said, nothing has been done for him. His attendant answered. This is to say, if Mordecai had received the reward earlier, this time it would have been very difficult for him. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. But he decided to wait for the divine time. He decided to loan it to God. He did not go to fight for his right. He did not go to say how it should be done. Because remember, the recognition was already in the statutes of this kingdom at that particular time. God pays better. Tell your neighbor that. God pays better. God pays bigger. A good measure, pressed down, and overflowing. Yes, let us always remember that. We give, we do good. God will pay better at the right time. God makes everything beautiful in its own time. We read that in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 11. Number 8, good deeds can thwart a divine plan to destroy your life. If you read verse 4, you hear that all the plans to finish Mordecai were already done. Evil schemes will not prosper whatsoever. Good deeds are able to defeat evil. Romans chapter 12 and verse 21. We may fight like we are losing. You may fight like you are blessed and all that. Even when good people appear as in trouble, it is not defeat. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 8 to 9. Blessed in all ways, but you are not crushed. Good deeds never decay. Whatever good that we do, it will never decay. It will never go to waste. Number 9, when we do good, the enemy will prescribe even our menu for our honor. We read that in verse 7, that it is Haman who said what must be done to Mordecai. It is him who described the menu and how things are actually going to be. He is doing that without knowing he is doing that for Mordecai, for that matter. In the presence of the enemy, and it will not delay. In verse 10 we say, and we hear the king saying, go at once. The king commanded Haman to do as such. May God help us in a big way, that we'll be more than willing to do good and to know that the enemy at one particular time will look to us and wonder, as it is in Psalm 23 and verse 5, he prepared a table before my enemies. And finally, it is good for us to be careful, not to be entertained in doing wrong, in doing evil. At the end of the day, remember, it is your responsibility. Please tell your neighbor that. It is your responsibility. When you do evil, it is your responsibility. When you neglect your family, When you do all manner of evil at your place of work and wherever in the community, it is your responsibility. It is important for us to be careful, even to those people who cheer us when we are doing evil, when we are doing wrong. May God help us in a very big way. If you read chapter 5 and verse 14, the Bible talks of how Haman went to his wife. It says, verse 14, his wife Sheres and all his friends said to him, have a pole set up, reaching to a height of 50 cubits, and ask the king in the morning to have Mordecai hang on it. This is a wife telling the husband, huyu mtu afanya nini? Afinywe. Finya kabisa. That is what actually the wife is actually saying to the husband. And the husband forgot it is his responsibility. Hear what happened in chapter 6, verse 12. When things are turning, these people who are with him at that particular time, hear what happened. Afterward, no, verse 12, yes. Afterward, Mordecai returned to the king's gate, but Haman rushed home with his head covered in grief and told Sheres, his wife, and all his friends, everything that had happened to him. Hear what they told him. His advisors and his wife said to him, since Mordecai, before whom your downfall has started, is of the Jewish origin, you cannot stand against him. And she says, you will surely come to win. It is your responsibility. Wakati mambo iliharibika, hata bibi akamwambia, sasa hii inaonekana bila ilivyo. Mambo ni nini? Ni magumu, imekuwa baya. It is our responsibility. May God help us to do good. Whatever you sow, you are going to reap. Galatians chapter 6 and verse 7. Haman showed evil, and therefore he actually reaped the same. He showed death for Mordecai. In fact, he harvested the same death instead. Galatians chapter 6 and verse 7. Before our theme, it says clearly, God cannot be mocked. You reap what you sow. May God help you and me that we are going to show good things. And it is important for us to remember the greatest planting we can do, the greatest show in our life we can be able to show is to show our life in Christ Jesus wherever we are. And that good, we'll find it one day. May the Lord help us. May He be close to us in all that we do. Let us not become weary in doing good. At that proper time, we are going to reap a harvest. That proper time is only known by God, and God will surely come through for us. In the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.